Hello there, students. This is a lesson on finding surface area and volume of cylinders. We have some various cylinders here at the bottom, some shapes you might recognize. We have a coffee mug, we have a soup can, and we also have a Pringles can. I'm sure you can think of many more examples of cylinders in real life. Today what we're going to do is we're going to explore these shapes, come up with formulas, and apply the formulas for finding surface area and volume of cylinders.
Huh?
The volume of a cylinder is found by taking the area of the base and multiplying it by the height. So let's put that together for our formula. The volume of a cylinder is the product of the area of the base, which is a circle, and the height of the cylinder. So if we look at the diagram here, the base, which could be on the top or the bottom, is a circle, and the area of a circle is pi r squared. But because it's three-dimensional, we're going to multiply it by the height. So that's basically what we have in our formula. Volume is equal to pi r squared. That's our base, our circle, and we're going to multiply that by the height. Let's take a look at an example. So we have this cylinder here, this green cylinder, and we're going to start first with volume. So we're going to start first with finding the volume. We'll look at the surface area in the next activity. So the volume, first thing we're going to do, we need to write down the correct formula. So we can see up here, our correct formula is pi r squared times h. We're going to label our shape. So this here is our base, and what we need is the radius. Okay? So the radius is found by taking the diameter and dividing it by 2. So you can see that you're given the distance all the way across, which is 14. So to find the radius, we need to cut that in half. And so our radius is going to be equal to 7 meters. And pi is pi. So the next thing we're going to need for our formula is our h value, which is our height. So 2 meters is going to be equal to our height. So now we have everything we need to put into the formula. So volume is equal to pi times radius, 7. We're going to square it, and we're going to multiply that by the height. If we were following the order of operations, which we always should, we would start first with the exponents. Pi times 7 squared, which is 49. And then, oh, we got to put in our height, which is 2. Now we're just going to multiply those three things together. And for that, we're going to bring in our calculator. So make sure you have your calculator open so that you can do this problem along with us. So for this way, if we just want to do it the regular way, I'm just going to take all of this down here and put it into our calculator. So I'm going to take pi. Let's see if we can find pi. Pi is down here with the function key. This is the third place on our Desmos, FUNC function. We're going to click on pi. I'm going to go back to my main, and I'm multiplying that by 49. And then I'm finally going to multiply by the height, which is 2. And then we get our answer. We're going to round this to the nearest tenth. So we're going to say that our answer is 307.9. Oops, let me bring that back in for us. Wasn't done with it yet. 307.9 cubic meters. And again, it's cubic meters because we're dealing with volume. Now let's look at another way we can use the Desmos calculator. So let's open that back up again. I'm going to clear this out. And I'm going to show you what we can do. So get yours open. Here's what I want you to do this time. Instead of substituting, I want you just to type in the formula for volume. You're just going to type in the expression part, so you're not going to type in the V. That's what you're trying to figure out. You're going to type in pi r squared h, just as the formula is there. So again, I find my pi, my function. It's down here next to the arrow, pi. Then I'm going to go to r for my radius. And remember, we have to square the radius to get the area of the circle. So I'm going to go back to main to the A2 to get that little 2. And then finally, I'm going to put in h. So that's the formula for volume. So the next thing I'll have to do is just tell the Desmos calculator what the radius and height are. So I'm going to type in r is equal to 7. Okay, and now I still need to tell it what h is. It already knows what pi is. H is equal to 2. And then there we have our answer. Notice it's the exact same answer as we got when we did it by hand with some help from the calculator. So again, you put in the formula and then you tell Desmos the value of the two variables, just like we did with rectangular prisms. All right, now that we've figured out how to calculate the volume of a cylinder, let's take a look at surface area. I want you to just notice what's happening on the left side of the screen. So what you should be noticing is that a cylinder, for surface area, it's going to be the outer part of a surface area, outer part of a cylinder, which is made up of 2 circles and 1 rectangle. So the rectangle, as you can see on the right side, is called the lateral surface or lateral area. And then we have our two circles, circle number 1, circle number 2. So for this, we're going to find the area of the two circles. So that's where we get the 2 pi r squared. That would be the area of the circles. And then for the rectangle, the formula is 2 pi rh. So that's our lateral surface. And you might notice that the part of the lateral surface here, that length of the rectangle, is the same as the circumference of a circle because that goes all the way around the circle. So what we do is we multiply the circumference of the circle times the height. And circumference is equivalent to 2 pi r. So that's the circumference part of our formula. And then we're going to multiply that by the height. And that's how we get the second part of the formula. And you're not required to memorize the formulas, but it's good to know where they come from. So the surface area of a cylinder is the sum, because we're going to add, of the areas of the two bases. So with this we have the area of the circle again, but we have two of them. And the lateral surface, and that's a rectangle. And again, that's how we have our formula right here. All right, now let's do an example with and without the Desmos calculator finding the surface area of a cylinder. So we have our steps again listed. First step is we're going to write down the correct formula. So we've already done the volume, check. Now we're going to work on surface area. So you look up here, the SA gives us that formula. So SA, which stands for surface area, is going to be equal to 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. And now we're going to label our shape because again we need pi and we need height. Oh, excuse me, we know pi. We need the radius and we need height. So here again we're given the diameter. The diameter is 14 meters. So to get the radius, we're going to take that 14 meters and divide it by 2. So then our radius is equal to 7 meters. And then of course we have our height over here, which is 2. And it's really important if you're given the diameter, but there's a radius in the formula, you can't skip that step of dividing by 2. So now we're going to substitute the variables with the numbers given in the picture. So 2 times pi times radius plus 2 times pi times the radius, which is 7, times 2, which is the height. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and pull in my calculator. And put all that in. So I'm going to clear it out. And I'm going to put in 2 times, remember to find pi, you go to the function key, pi r squared plus, and notice I put the multiplication sign. I don't really need it, right? It's not going to hurt, but I don't need it because it means to multiply, whether it's there or not, times 2 pi r h. Okay, so again, and you might choose to put the variables in first, it doesn't matter. So I did not this time. So now it's not going to tell us, and if we click on that little triangle there, it says try defining for RH. So the calculator's telling you, give me the value of R, give me the value of H. So we're going to say the radius, we know, is 7, and then the height is going to be equal to 2. And then that gives us our answer. So notice this time I did a little bit differently. I plugged in the numbers, but then I also showed you how you could do it without plugging them in, but just telling Desmos what the values were. I could also have done it this way and simplified all that out, and I can look at that on the calculator as well. I could put 2 pi times 7 squared plus 2 times pi times 7 times 2. And you notice I get the same answer. So whether we just substitute the values in ourselves, that's a way we can do it. Or probably the most accurate way is to just put in your formula and then also put in your values for your radius and your height. The other cool thing about this too is if you had two shapes that had the same radius and height, like we did in our last example, you could actually leave all this in your calculator and then put in the formula for volume. So if I put in that formula for volume, pi r squared times h, pi r squared h. And see, it gave me the volume. So that's a good trick when you are working with finding surface area and volume. Another thing you could do is just keep the formulas in your calculator, and then as you go through the assignment, you can change the values for R and H, and then you'll need to know which formula to use. So for this, my answer, surface area, right? That's what we were calculating originally. And I'm going to go ahead and just round that, put it here. Oops, don't want to move that. And then our answer is not just 395.8. We need to make sure we have our units, which it's surface area, so it's going to be meters squared. Okay, now you know how to find surface area and volume of a cylinder, both by plugging in the variables into the problem directly or by using Desmos and telling Desmos the value of the variables. Have a great day.